The Department of Cannabis Regulation is recording this meeting by audio and visual means. By continuing with this meeting, you consent to this recording and acknowledge that the Department of Cannabis Regulation owns the recording and may use or reproduce it in any manner it deems necessary. If you do not consent to being recorded, please discontinue your participation in the meeting. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us for tonight's Spark session and stakeholder comment period. Tonight's session is on the Social Equity Program. I am Raina Plummer. I am the Public Relations Specialist for the Department of Cannabis Regulation. This is our second to last Spark session, and we look forward to hearing you during tonight's stakeholder comment period. If you would like to leave a comment during the stakeholder comment period, from 5 to 6 p.m., please feel free to raise your hand or use *9 if calling from a phone. You're able to say your name if you would like to, and participants have 2 minutes to speak. Participants are allowed to speak once per stakeholder comment period. This period is for comment collection and is not a conversational time. We will not be responding to questions during this time. We will just be taking down comments. We just want to hear from you. Now I will pass the mic over to Pamela Smith with MBI Media to launch the stakeholder comment period.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Plummer. We will begin taking stakeholder comments at this time. My associate, Ms. Roman, will be muting and unmuting attendees as they raise their hands to speak. And as Ms. Plummer stated, everyone will be given 2 minutes to speak. Ms. Roman, at this time, you can unmute Daryl Crutchfield. Mr. Crutchfield,
yes.
There you go. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is Daryl Crutchfield, and my comment is that it's not right that a person like me, let me speak for myself. I have been verified as a Tier 1, Tier 2 applicant since August 2019. I have not received no help at all and being victimized because of it. I couldn't even apply for the first round of licensing. And I also went to apply for the seed grant that you guys have. And they told me I cannot receive any seed grant money because I don't have an application in. So I'm being victimized on both ends. I have not received no help since August 2019. So my comment is, I wish they would put somebody in place to reach out and help the people that have been in for a long time that have not received no help. I have emails to verify what I'm telling you, everything. It makes no sense. So my comment is, I wish they would get my suggestion. Get somebody in place. You know, it's not my fault. I'm doing my part, but not getting no help. And I'm getting victimized because of it. I cannot apply for nothing. I can't do nothing. And if I do it wrong, I'm going to get booted out. So I'm in a catch-22. So that's my comment and my suggestion, that they get somebody to help out, or at least reach out to somebody, do something. I even went down to the office before the COVID started. No help. I mean, and this has been since 2019.
Does that conclude your comment, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. The next person we'll hear from is Darwin Butler. You might have to unmute yourself by doing *6 if you're calling from the phone, or you might have to unmute yourself via Zoom. Mr. Butler? Mr. Butler going once. You're unmuted on our end, sir, so you might have to unmute yourself. Okay, Ms. Roman, at this time, we'll move down to Ms. Gorman for 2 minutes.
Hi, Karmeshra Gorman. In support of Measure M, I'd like to offer that all of the suggestions made during these Spark sessions be seriously considered while DCR drafts policy that is more in line with the equity goals or greater measures of equity, including redefining transitional worker and using current transitional worker criteria to qualify transitional workers as social equity workers who earn shares of the company's profits based on company receipts and hours worked, and or DCR should assist with the formation of a bona fide transitional worker or social equity worker labor organization able to negotiate rates for all transitional and social equity workers. To ensure social equity throughout the cannabis industry pipeline, the mandatory requirement section 104.11 should be expanded to require existing businesses, social equity or otherwise, to patronize businesses that are social equity eligible businesses. Social equity eligible businesses should be defined under definitions as started by a social equity applicant with majority ownership and businesses with redefined transitional workers occupying a certain percentage of the company's profits that are based on receipts and hours worked. If the above corrections are adopted, mandatory requirements should be amended to make the minimum number of transitional workers' weekly hours based on receipts, profits, and a minimum earning threshold, or weekly hours minimums should be determined by the bona fide transitional worker or social equity labor organization. As far as voting rights and control, 3B, those rules should not change. However, there are some things that need some work, including licensing fines are outrageous and don't make sense or need further clarification. Start and end of social equity applicant qualification needs to be detailed. Cooperatives are represented in a sense, however, buyers collectives are not.
Ms. Gorman, I'm sorry, that completes your 2 minutes, but thank you very much for your comment. We appreciate hearing from you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we're going to try to go back to Mr. Butler. Ms. Roman, if we could try to unmute him again. It looks like it's on his end, but we'll try it one more time. Mr. Butler? Okay, looks like he's still having issues, so we'll go down to the next person. Let's go to Gregory's phone.
Grigor? Yeah, this is Grigor speaking. How are you?
Good, how are you? I'm
doing well. Just a quick question I wanted to confirm. Is phase 3 round 2 opening up in October, or is it currently in the enrollment process?
At this time, sir, right now we're just hearing general comments. If you have a question, you're welcome to put it in the chat feature at the bottom. But right now, this is just a 2-minute general comment period. Would you like to continue making a comment? Looks like he muted himself. So we will go to the next person. Ms. Roman, let's go to Sarah, please. Sarah, you have the floor for 2 minutes. Sarah, are you there? You might have to unmute yourself. You're unmuted on our end. Okay, Ms. Roman, we'll move on to the next person, Lauren P.
Hello?
Yes, you have the floor for 2 minutes, beginning now.
Hi, I'm not sure if when I looked at originally when they qualified for a social equity program in Los Angeles, I actually looked at the data, how they came up with the methodology of how they figured it out. And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. A lot of people got double counted, but some counties didn't. A lot of the logic that they used to how to disqualify certain areas just because of like by the airport, but that gets rid of like a lot of people who are in apartments that live over there. And also I currently live in a place that was disqualified, even though the school districts in my area are low income. You know, most of it are 90% on the food program. So, I mean, the lunch program. And so I just want to know if that has changed, has they changed the criteria of like how they're going to qualify somebody? Because really, I feel like they should just add in race. Like every other city literally has added in race into their social equity programs. And I think it's like Los Angeles is doing a big disservice because this is a race issue. It should be resolved and by using race. Like there's like in 2003, I looked at who was arrested. It was like 937 Black people, 537, something like that, of Latino people, 38, it was like 38 other, and then like one white person and 0 Asian. I'm like, and that was like the entire year for weed related arrests. And I'm like, when you just have stuff like statistics that look like that, and to say that, oh, now that all these other people who weren't really affected as much get to qualify and get to be a part of the social equity program, while other people who've lived in the area have been affected by it just can't because they happen to live in a zip code that when they did the methodology, or you just wasn't at that whatever meeting that was, because there's definitely people who live in View Park for whatever reason get to qualify, but me, because I live, I don't know, in my neighborhood, it doesn't seem to qualify. So I don't know if it has been changed or not, but
Well, thank you for your comment. Your 2
Yeah.
minutes is up, but we appreciate hearing from you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we still have a hand raised by Darwin Butler, so we're going to try Mr. Butler again. And Mr. Butler, you might have to unmute yourself. Okay, it looks like he's still having some issues here. So we're going to go on to Michael Federici. Mr. Federici, you might have to unmute yourself. You're currently unmuted on our end. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. You have 2
Okay.
minutes.
Okay. Regarding the social equity status, I know myself when I was looking for a social equity applicant prior to realizing the person right next to me was eligible. But prior to that, it was like a secret list of social equity people. You couldn't find them. I mean, DCR wouldn't supply a list of social equity people. And, attorneys and people were charging up to $10,000 to meet and greet social equity applicant people. It kind of really ticked me off because, just to pay $5,000, some people were charging $5,000 just to, shake a hand. It was a meet and greet, $10,000 if we signed. It was ridiculous. And, now we're at the end of it. Everybody's into their licensing and people are still trying to get social equity eligible. When licensing is so far behind, I think we should first deal with the applicants that are already in place. We're lacking in funding for social equity people to have attorneys, the people that do qualify for licensing, people who have properties, people who have everything in the way of licensing that they need, but they need that little boost, that little extra from, especially with legal fees. Attorneys wanted up to $10,000 a license to apply for delivery, manufacturing, and distribution. Retail was even more. I couldn't afford that, so I managed to get through it myself. But now I have a PCN application in for retail. We are proceeding with manufacturing, delivery, and distribution.
Your 2 minute period is up, but thank you very much for your comment. Okay. We appreciate hearing from you. Next up, we will be hearing from Fanny Avendando. You are being unmuted and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Fanny Avendano, and I'm calling to comment on why Proposition M has not yet been implemented. One of the biggest things that actually pushed Proposition M by 81% of voters was to help out social equity. Now, in the this fiscal year, we've had a surplus of $61 million on March 1st, 2021 were not allocated to any department or expense for this fiscal year. The controller's note says that the cannabis business tax is estimated to grow by 61.2 million based on recent trends. We still have not seen anything, any benefits, anything being done for the social equity applicant. There has been no resolve on phase 1 or phase 2 discrepancies. On March 1st, 2021, the mayor had 137 million in revenue that was not allocated anywhere. That includes cannabis business tax revenue.
Are you still there?
Yeah, so every year the general fund relies on cannabis means. Every year implementing Proposition M gets messed up because of the large amount of money taken away. Now, where is that being addressed by the DCR on how this surplus is being allocated, and why is there still not any resources for the social equity applicant implemented?
Thank you for your comment, but your 2 minutes is up, but thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Next, we will be going to, it says iPhone. So you're calling in from your phone. So don't forget, you'll need to do *6 to unmute yourself, iPhone.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, this is Darwin Butler, verified social equity applicant, just like my brother for over 2 years now. 2 things I wanted to say, well, several things. Well, first of all, I feel that all of the money allocated from the state of California, over I think it's over 12 million or whatever, I think that money should all be divided equally amongst all the verified social equity applicants, regardless to where they are in the process, because we're going to need the money to go further into the process. Like right now, I've been 2 years looking for a place. I got predatory lenders. People don't want to rent in the areas that's not saturated. They don't want to rent. Well, you are not giving us no help, no list of 420 friendly landlords or anything. Second thing I like to say is the people that did get verified for in Koreatown, I wanted to know how was they affected by the war on drugs, because I thought this program was for people who had criminal violations for a criminal record. So I want to know, how did those people qualify for their license, and did they have a criminal background? Because the requirements was low income, criminal background. So everybody who qualified need to have some sort of criminal background in order to qualify for this program. I was arrested, spent time in prison just to see other people take advantage of this program who probably only lived in the area for 10 years. So just because you lived in that area don't mean you was impacted. You need to prove how you was impacted. Okay, and criminal background should have a precedence over that. The first 800 people who qualified under this program should have precedence under this expanded view. So we need some help finding locations. You all promised us 3 years of free rent through type 1 and type 2 was going to be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 was going to offer us, be a mentor and give us some rent. None of that is materialized.
Mr. Butler, thank you for your comment. Your 2 minutes is up, but thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Whitney Beatty. Miss Beatty, you might need to unmute yourself. There you go. You're on. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, I am a verified social equity applicant going through the process. I wanted to speak to the delay and modifications. It's one of the things that has become unbearable for me in my process. We put on our modification in November, and we were under the impression from the DCR that we would have answers back on those modifications that came in before February by the end of April. And we have not gotten that yet. And the problem becomes is that makes it very difficult for the rest of us to be able to also even raise money or have conversations with investors, because they are aware of the delays in this process, and it makes it very difficult for us to get people to even want to come on board. And as everyone knows, investment and funding is a huge issue within this space. And when we have these sort of barriers, like not being able to trust that the DCR is going to be able to provide those modifications and answers. When especially simple modifications, it becomes a holdup for us. And we've been paying rent since June of 2019, and we're still stuck in this process, wasting money every month while those legacy operators get to continue to run their businesses, make money, and put barriers to entry between us and them. And so it's become a huge issue for us in our business.
Does that conclude your comment? Alrighty then, thank you. Ms. Roman, let's try for Sarah again. Sarah, you might need to do *6 if you're calling from a phone to unmute yourself. Oh, you were unmuted for a second, then you went back to mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hi, my name is Sarah Egbula. I'm a social equity verified applicant. I'm calling to state that I believe there was a comment of, would we like to receive the lowball amount of $10,000 or a higher loan amount? I would say the loan amount needs to be considered. $10,000 is a slap in the face. You can't even put a deposit on a building for $10,000. You can't lease equipment for $10,000. $10,000 is nothing. And then for phase 3, I think round 1, they get $25,000. Retailers, I'm not in retail, but I know that these building rents are very high. Equipment leasing is high. So therefore, this is a barrier to entry. I also want to say, as someone that has potential investors, they are afraid to touch any social equity applicant in LA due to the delays with DCR. They consider LA to be one of the worst areas to invest in, which hurts us when we're trying to pitch to these investors. So until LA DCR gets its act together, it's continually hurting the rest of us, and it's continuously hurting everyone that is trying to deal with investors that could help us out. We should not be a disgrace across the country. This program should be setting an example, and at this point, it is not. That's the end of my comment.
Thank you very much. If anyone else would like to make a comment at this time, please raise your hand if you're in Zoom, or if you're calling from your phone, use *9 to raise your hand. Oh, it looks like we have a person that just popped up. I'm going to have trouble saying this name, but it looks like it's Agmusel. We're going to unmute you. You have 2 minutes. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I apologize.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Alfredo Gama, and I am also a member of a neighborhood council that is part of it tasked to monitor city services. And one of the city services the city is supposed to do is regulate cannabis. I remember when the department started back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of people didn't even understand we had a cannabis department. And the more weed shops I see in LA, the more I see how things are failing, because the people that are selling weed is not the people that were in prison for weed. So I want to ask some questions of the department that could perhaps be addressed later. What is the department doing to basically engage people that don't even know about the business opportunities, the grants? What is the business doing to regulate the big businesses that are preying on social equity applicants and people who are not even part of the business yet? I know in my neighborhood, we have shops that are open that are not regulated. So those are some questions that I have. And just listening to the many comments, I wonder if the department is worth even having, because we all pay taxes, and it's a good question to start having, because it seems like regulation just messed up the industry even further than anything else, because it's only putting obstacles for people to do business, and people are losing money. People have been in prison. A lot of us fled from our countries because of people exploiting the land. So that's my comment, and I hope people that make decisions are listening to these public comments, because it's not acceptable that people are paying into a system and we're basically being robbed of services. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you for your comment. And just to remind everyone, every comment that's being made verbally and in the chat box is being captured and recorded and will be put together in a final report. So everything that you're saying tonight does matter. Next, we're going to go to Christian for 2 minutes. Christian, you will be unmuted and you will have the floor for 2 minutes. Are you there? Christian, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. You are unmuted, but we cannot hear you if you're speaking. Christian going once, Christian going twice. Okay, we've muted you, but if you keep your hand up, we'll try to come back to you again. At this time, if anyone else has any comments, please raise your hand and we would love to hear from you. If you're calling from a phone, please do *9 to raise your hand, followed by *6 to unmute yourself. And Ms. Plummer, we don't have any other comments at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. While we have everybody on the line, I do see some participants coming and raising their hand. I'm just going to make one quick announcement. Please join DCR and Elevate Impact LA for a seed grant program lunch and learn on Thursday, June 10th, 2021 from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. You can RSVP on the DCR website at cannabis.lacity.org or apply for the seed grant program at elevateimpactla.com. The team from Elevate Impact LA will be walking participants through each step of the application, providing feedback on grant assessment documents and answering questions.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to hear from Piero.
Yes,
You
Piero.
have the floor for 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Piero. I'm also a qualified social equity applicant, and I believe that myself, just like many other social equity applicants out there, we know we qualified, but yet we haven't received any help, any legal advice. Many of us are lost, and we don't know, we're trying to find our way. And I don't know how exactly to put it. A lot of the first licenses were given out basically to people with money. I don't know how they could expect social equity people that us that been, that we've fallen into this, we've been through the system. I don't know how they expect us to come up with these fees and these big amounts of money. And then not only that, but the worst case scenario, when they had the last storefront application, when I was already a qualified social equity applicant, you guys wanted us to have a lease on a place already. And it's like, how many people could afford to have a lease for a place for an unknowing amount of time and be able to afford that? Tell me how many of us social equity applicants that have been damaged by the cannabis laws and been in prison or been jailed or received felonies, how many of us actually have that kind of money and have that kind of legal support and knowledge to be able to get ahead? It seems like the social equity program was developed for us people who've been, been harmed by the drug war. But in reality, it seems like the people getting rich or the people benefiting are the people with money and the big corporations. I see it all the time. At one of the last social equity meetings, not the social equity, but one of the meetings we had when they were giving out the licensing for the last licensing for the storefronts, how many people were there with money just looking for people like us, trying to make us to sign agreements, to have us.
Hi, sir,
I'm sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I'm sorry, but great comment, and thank you very much for coming on with us this evening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
At this time, we don't have any hands raised, but if you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand in the Zoom function. If you're calling through your phone, please use *9 to raise your hand, followed by *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Smith. I see that a Kimberly Bloom is raising her hand, or she's trying to raise her hand. Can we try to get her in here or unmute her somehow?
Okay, I'm unmuted right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, my question is, when you guys sent the volunteers out like about 2 years ago into the LA area, and they came and took photocopies of our taxes at that time, and we didn't hear anything back. I thought I had an application on file, and I just realized within the past week that I don't. So, we're kind of stuck here with not knowing what to do, not knowing whether to invest, not feeling comfortable and safe. I've noticed a couple of dispensaries in the area. They're normally not here for a long period of time. And the one that is, they've been here probably 6 months at the longest. So in the LA area, as far as low income, as far as what the criteria is to participate, it's not happening. And if it's happening at a very, very low pace. That was my question and my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Elena. You are unmuted. The floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Yes, hi, I'm sorry. I joined in a little late. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to make a comment or.
Wait, I'm muting you. If you're on speakerphone, you might need to pick up the phone because there's a really bad echo on our end. So if you can pick up the phone, if you're using that device, I'm going to unmute you now, but let's see if we can get, because we cannot hear you. Ms. Roman, can you unmute her again? I muted her for a second. Elena, if you're there you go. Uh-oh, looks like she went away. Maybe she's going to make some adjustments. So now let's go to Tiana and Jason.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, my name is Tiana. I do a lot of Zoom, so there's another name on here, but it's just Tiana. I'm a social equity applicant. I'm one of the original 1600s that was, awarded the social equity status. And I guess my question is, with that first round, we all know that it was what it was, the first 100 that went, applications. I was one of the people that obviously with the having to have your lease in place first took me longer to get and did not make that deadline. I do, however, have a current application on file, it's in a PCN status, whatever. But my question is, once you guys had the audit and you changed the social equity parameters from, just low income to must have a cannabis conviction, what is happening to the rest of us, that were part of the original 1600? Because it seems like we're kind of left in limbo, like we're not allowed to be a part of the lottery. Is there a point where we're able to apply for a license, or what does that look like moving forward? Because it seems like, we did all this work to qualify, and because I don't have a cannabis conviction, even though I'm low income and have been living in LA and had family and other people that have been affected by the war on drugs, that it seems like we're kind of left in limbo, like we're no longer important.
Does that conclude your comment?
Yeah, I was just curious about, how it looks being social equity moving forward. If the new, I guess another question, my second question is, if the new qualifications parameters for social equity are what's staying in place, like, are we still qualified as social equity because of the new parameters, or were those just for the 200 licenses that are now, and are we keeping the original 1600 on the list? I know in the last.
Right now, this is strictly just a 2-minute comment period, but
Gotcha.
I suggest that you put your question either in the chat box, or please visit our virtual meeting room where there is a comment box that you can ask those type of questions, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, thank you. At this time, we don't have any new callers at this time. We don't have any new hands raised at this time. We have approximately 20 minutes left if anyone would like the floor for 2 minutes to make a general comment.
Thank you. And as a reminder, participants are allowed to speak once per stakeholder comment period. So if you have already made a comment during this period, we would love for you to join us during the Spark session, which begins at 6 p.m. and Ms. Smith just said in about 20 minutes. We will be having breakout rooms that cover these different topics that we're hearing about, and we'd love to get those additional comments at that time. So again, I think we have a new hand now, but we will be taking, again, more comments in the Spark session.
Great, and the next person to make a comment is either going to be Evelyn or Brandon.
Hi, yes, it's Evelyn.
Hi.
Hi, yes. I would just like to say that with social equity, we need expedited processing. We need funding. We should not be discussing the future of social equity when the current state of the social equity program is a disaster. We should have action now. We're having these meetings month to month, and we're talking, but we still don't see any action. The grant process is becoming a joke. 25K is already a slap in the face. We've submitted a grant application on 4/20, that's over a month ago, and currently no action has been taken towards that. People are currently paying rent month after month, and the DCR is delaying the application review process yet again. This is not social equity. Almost 3 years and nothing from the DCR. Absolutely nothing. These conversations, yes, we thank you guys for having these meetings, but if you're not going to have any action, these meetings are pointless. Yes, I know you're recording and you're taking notes, but people need action right now in this current state. We don't need to talk about it. We need to be about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have CTG. You might need to unmute yourself on your end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First, I just want to say thank you for the department for taking their time to spend with us social equity applicants and to field these comments. And I just really want to let you know that I appreciate that. And mine is just kind of a general share in terms of where I'm at as an applicant. I've been able to find some partners that are currently working in under somebody else's license. And so we're applying to get our own license. And, you know, even with finding partners who are semi-successful in the industry currently, we are having problems finding real estate and going and getting all the pieces of the puzzle. So, I mean, you know, I'm not sure how long this licensing hearing has been open, but, you know, I've been working through that time, and, you know, we're at that point where we're looking to either lease or purchase a real estate, and we even have the capital to do it. And even that is a very difficult process. And one of my fears is that, you know, we be doing all this work and the application period closes on us in a way that kind of makes all the work that we've done so far moot. So I just wanted to kind of give that honest feedback of where I'm at. I'm sure you guys have your pulse on many different applicants, and hopefully, you know, by being transparent in this manner with this comment, you guys are kind of able to guide us through this process in a more efficient or the best way we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Javier Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, the floor will be yours for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, and hello everyone. My name is Javier Rodriguez. I'm a social equity applicant for both phase 2 and phase 3. I have, and similar as the previous social equity I mentioned, I'm just here kind of to share what I'm going through. It's been very challenging, as specifically with the leases. I want to talk about phase 2. There's a deadline that was set, and I'm here just to really advocate to extend the deadline. Like, you know, we got hit with COVID. I've been requested 4 different modification location requests. No, I submitted in July, November, February, and early in May they told me, and then they hit me with the deadline. And you know, we're scrambling. It's just been really difficult for us social equity applicants, and I just think deadlines create more inequities, specifically with the manufacturing and distro, because I have an attorney telling me, well, Javier, like the investor can actually do this on his own without you now. And luckily I have an investor who wants to support social equity, but to set that deadline on me and just pretty much leave me asked out is tough. It's tough for me as a social equity. And I'm not even going to talk about phase 3 and the retail and the difficulty of negotiating with investors who are predatory, right? And that has been another battle of its own. You know, I've stacked up lawyer fees. I'm close to 10,000, and you know, it's just it's difficult. And we hope that DCR can continue to take into account what we've gone through and try to remove the challenges and barriers that have really been exhausting us. You know, we're trying to stay in the fight, and we're trying to continue to build social equity businesses here and create opportunities for others. But we feel like we're getting cut short, and it's really hard, you know, and we just hope that at least give us an extension. I don't know if anyone else is going through, but provide an extension. Please remove December 30th deadline. There's a lot of folks out here. We're just struggling with leases, as mentioned. It's hard to get a lease. Even when we get a lease, we've lost the lease because of just issues behind it.
Thank you for your comment, but your 2 minutes is up. But thank you very much. Next up, we have Mtume. Sir, you'll have the floor for 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great.
My name is Mtume, and I'm a member of the Social Equity Owners and Workers Association. And it's just, this is very confusing to me. I find it weird, or I guess it's planned like that all the pre-ICOs every month are making millions. You know, now if they're black and brown, all right, I accept that. But from my understanding, most of the pre-ICOs are white men, that's bullshit. Yet every month, all the social equity participants, the black and brown ones, are losing tens of thousands of dollars, in which they, in most cases, had to get an investor, or they're borrowing money from their family members or what have you. This is crazy. And you guys really need to do something about this bullshit, because you guys are...
So I'm going to have to ask you to watch your language, because this is a public forum.
All right.
We want to hear from you, but we got to keep it clean.
Well, I'm just saying, it's funny. I got to watch my language, but you guys don't have to watch shit that you guys are doing to us. You
Okay,
guys are
so
fucking
we're going to have to mute you at this time, but thank you very much. Next up, we're going to go to Ian McMillan. Ian?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Brown. Yeah, my comment is I think the social equity verification program needs to expand eligibility to also include family members of those that were arrested. We know that a simple cannabis arrest did far more than affect just the person who was arrested. Usually affected housing, employment, education, and there were other people that were affected from that, not to mention the, trauma from the war on drugs. So I think the social equity program should expand their verification and qualifications to actual family members of those that also been affected from the war on drugs as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Joshua Castaneda.
All right.
You're unmuted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for your time today and for allowing the forum for us to discuss some of the frustrations and some of the opportunities that we're seeing right now. They're disguised as problems too. Understanding that most of the applicants that I'm dealing with are people that are, in this particular time, they're not able to function because their landowners, or as far as their leases with their property managers, are dealing with the limitations of that first occupancy and a certificate of occupancy process. And all of this narrative that I keep running into as far as with the social equity applicants, what I'm seeing is we are banding together. The one thing that is coming from the difficulties of the situation is there's associations that are causing alignments, there's branding, there is mentorship programs. We are putting together incubation facilities in order to help and sponsor other people going through the same processes and difficulties. One of the things that I would like to address is the structure for the business documents, specifically for social clubs, associations, the network, as far as building those opportunities for the applicants that did get through, and they're able to foster those other talents that are in the queue. That seems to be the most paramount issue that we're addressing right now in the incubation period. So I want to really take hold of those grant programs, make sure that we're fostering that talent, that we're able to align for the applicant process, that we're getting them their mentorship that they need and assigning them the right delegates within this structure that you guys are doing with the stakeholder program. So I would like to see a real mentorship facility being sponsored through the stakeholders, like the ones that we already have pushed through, and we're bringing more people up. That's just something I wanted to address. And I'm also echoing a lot of what I've already heard when it comes to giving support to the family members and those that have been affected by the war on drugs that maybe didn't take an arrest, but their family members, or vicariously they were able to slip through the cracks and they still were dealing with a lot of the underlying tones of the atmosphere. Do appreciate you guys. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. We appreciate you as well. Next up, we will go to Ray, R-E-Y, Ray.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to concur and echo the comments that were issued by both Joshua and Ian regarding some of the ways in which people were brought into the program. But I also wanted to emphasize the fact that now that the applicants have been able to now submit applications, it just seems like there's a lot of not uncertainty, but unclear, like we need more clarity, right? We're requesting updates from what's happening through this program, but we're demanding more clarity as well. It seems as though things have been progressively began to change once the program opened up, applications were submitted, but then more information came out saying that the requirements have now changed, right? We need just more clarity as to how to game plan around certain things, in which Joshua mentioned that there are resources that are now being created and centered around from those people who are having to band together to address these similar issues. It seems as though that same type of initiative needs to be forcefully pushed by the program itself so that we can begin to see more changes and more things to come. And I think those are the things that we need to begin addressing is not just the updates on the side of what's going on with the applicants. How are you requesting us to not only have a leasing space, but not giving us a good time frame and a game plan that we can kind of follow and work with, or other resources. So I just wanted to echo some of those other things that have been shared, and I hope to see some changes that will be made.
Thank you. Next, we'll be going to Mr. Davis, Robbie Davis. You might need to unmute yourself by doing *6. Mr. Davis, we're going to move on to The next caller.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is not Mr. Davis. This is Miss Robbie Davis. So, number one, I appreciate the fact that there is this venue being made available to the social equity applicants. However, I'm very much concerned because I hear a whole lot of inequity issues being brought to the forefront. Now, I am a board member of a neighborhood council in South LA. And I want to say to the social equity applicants on this call, please let your neighborhood council know how you're being treated or mistreated. Because if what I'm hearing is that you gather together the information, but when you come to the next meeting, nothing is being communicated about how you are attempting to enact some of the actions being requested. Now, number one, to me, it seems critical that legal advice is not being rendered. I know it can happen because right now the city of Los Angeles set up a basis for undocumented immigrants to have resource to legal representation. So I would urge social equity applicants to make that a criteria for moving forward, because when you don't know what you don't know, how can you be successful in your effort if the people who are supposedly in the front of the program are not hearing? When I say hearing, there's a difference between listening and hearing. Listening is passive. Hearing is a commitment to make what is being asked happen, because in spite of everything, what the young lady initially said is true. This is a racial issue. And your first...
Thank you, ma'am. Your 2 minutes is up, but
thank you for being there.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. It looks like we have time for one more comment. Luis Riviera, we're going to try you one more time.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for providing the space. I know that there's been a long road last few years with the program, so you know, things have gotten better, but you know, there's a lot that's still, I guess, lingering and just things that need to be fixed, I guess, in many ways. So I'd like to see if we could potentially add to the program, maybe local tax reductions or removing the BTRC tax for social equity applicants, just finding a way to be more competitive, not only with the illegal industry still thriving, but with the other operators. Also land, real estate, really being able to help them on the forefront, on the upfront with that, as well as contractual support. People are getting into contracts and partners without having that support on the front end, and some of the services that you guys may provide may be too late. So finding a way to make sure that that support and that level of being, those contracts being vetted are provided to them in the front end. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I will hand the microphone back to Ms. Plummer.
Yeah, I just looked at the time. We actually have a minute to do one more, so we can do a minute.
Keith?
Yep.
All right, Ms. Keith, the floor is yours.
Good evening. This is Kika Keith. I just have one comment, and we always continuously hear the complaints, the challenges, the grievances, and know we appreciate another forum to hear them. I want to go back to what Rules Committee instructed the commission to do back in 2019, April of 2019. And that was to form a stakeholders group made up of social equity operators and community members. There are ongoing needs, obviously, that will not be able to be all addressed in these meetings. And our voices really need to be heard, past being heard. Policies need to be adopted based on what's being heard. And after this funding runs out for this Spark session, there will continue to be policy issues and recommendations and program implementation, that the only way you're going to be able to effectively create solutions is to hear from the people who are receiving the services. So I want to strongly recommend, again, that the commission adhere to the instructions of Rules Committee to form a stakeholders working group made up of community members and social equity owners and workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. We'll be beginning the Spark session momentarily. The stakeholder comment period is closed, but we will be beginning the Spark session momentarily. We will be including breakout rooms, which will allow for the additional recording of comments. The Department of Cannabis Regulation is recording this meeting by audio and visual means. By continuing with this meeting, you consent to this recording and acknowledge that the Department of Cannabis Regulation owns the recording and may use or reproduce it in any manner it deems necessary. If you do not consent to being recorded, please discontinue your participation in this meeting. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Spark session number 7. We recognize that there are many questions and concerns about cannabis in the community, and we also recognize that current laws about cannabis continue to have significant impacts on issues like employment rights, housing rights, educational opportunities, and access to healthcare. And these laws and policies continue to have wide-ranging impacts on Angelenos, especially on marginalized communities. This is the genesis of Spark. With your help, DCR can support and provide the community with access, resources, and knowledge about cannabis activity in the city. Spark needs you, members of the local community and stakeholders impacted by cannabis policy or those seeking to affect cannabis policy, to share your feedback with us so that when DCR makes future policy recommendations to local leaders, those recommendations are shaped by the individuals and communities that will most likely be impacted. Before I introduce our panel, our speakers for today, and do an introduction, a more formal introduction, I'd like to review a few things about the Spark campaign. Spark is generally broken down into 5 key phases: collecting feedback, analyzing feedback, creating the final report, and then DCR and the Commission will develop and present the report and recommendations to City Council and appropriate council committees. From there, it will be up to City Council and council committees to take action. We are currently in the collecting feedback phase of this process. It has been a great Spark session campaign so far. This is our 7th Spark session. Our last Spark session will be this Saturday, June 12th. It will be on community impact. The stakeholder comment period will be from 9 to 10 a.m. and the Spark session will be from 10 to 11:30 a.m. You can get the information on that during our in the virtual meeting room or go online to cannabis.lacity.org. Also in the virtual meeting room, you can stay connected through Spark through our Spark surveys, our Spark comment box, and our Spark resource station. In the coming days, we'll be adding the whiteboards from our previous Spark sessions to the virtual meeting room so that we can make sure you have access to that to see what other people have had thoughts on related to the different topics we've covered, including licensing and regulation, the social equity program, corporate social responsibility, and more. Now, I'd like to bring up Director Packer to give some brief introductions and welcomes for today.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kat Packer. I'm the Executive Director of the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation. I appreciate everyone joining us this evening for our 7th Spark session. I have found thus far Spark to be a very informative tool for us to receive information from our stakeholders. We have invited commissioners to join every single Spark session so that we are informed, both the department and commission, in our responsibility to advise the City of Los Angeles, primarily our City Council and our mayor, on the development of cannabis-related policies and programs. I'm very much looking forward to tonight's session and the inclusion of breakout rooms. And again, just want to voice my appreciation for all of the stakeholders who have continued to join us at these Spark sessions. I appreciate your thoughtful input, your continued participation in this process. We do hear you. We want to make sure that we can take action on the recommendations and feedback that we are receiving, and much of the feedback that we've received thus far, we've discussed internally. We agree with a lot of the feedback that we've received. So we want to partner with community to implement the types of changes that folks want to see, both in policy, but also just in the programs and services that we provide. As today's Spark session is focused on the social equity program, I of course have invited our program director, Dr. Monty Brown, to join tonight's Spark session. She is with us this afternoon, so I do want to, at this time, welcome her. And Dr. Brown, if you want to provide any welcoming remarks, I will pass the floor over to you at this time.
Thank you, Director Packer, and thank you, Ms. Plummer. I want to welcome everybody and good evening. I want to thank you all for participating tonight in this Spark session. And as you know, we will be focusing on the social equity program. Your feedback, your comments, and all of your recommendations will be an essential component moving forward as we continue to develop cannabis policy, creating programming, and making decisions concerning grant funding resources. I'm looking forward to your engagement tonight, and I want to thank you all for your time. So enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. So before we jump into this evening's breakout rooms, I do want to provide a little bit of background on the social equity program. And for folks who have been joining us, this will be very familiar, but part of the reason why we do this is that as we go into these breakout rooms, particularly this evening, the breakout rooms and the prompts are going to be primarily framed around the programming that we have available to date. And we want to make sure we get input on that programming. So I first want to make sure that we provide a framework so everyone at least has a baseline understanding of the different programs and services that we're referring to. Again, we'll focus on the existing programs that we have as a part of the social equity program, but also want to get feedback if there are aspects and components of programming that we don't have as a part of our framework. But we'll start, we can go to the next slide, with just articulating the mission of the social equity program, which is of course to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. So with that mission, there are several different benefits or resources that have been articulated in policy. In full transparency, there are many components that have been articulated in policy that we're still in the process of implementing and would like your feedback on as we implement these different components, but we'll walk through them categorically briefly. So the first real step in the process is to go through the eligibility verification. We will spend time this afternoon seeking additional information and feedback from folks on eligibility verification criteria and the process itself. Folks have to be verified as an individual meeting certain criteria. And then once we identify the individual who meets the criteria, we make sure that that particular individual owns the requisite equity share of the entity. So there's an individual level verification and an entity level verification, which is essentially equity share compliance. Once you are determined eligible, folks would be able to receive priority application processing, business licensing and compliance assistance, access to fee waiver and deferral program, access to seed grant financial program, and access to pro bono legal services. Again, we'll go into more granular detail and get feedback about each of these different sub-program components later on in the presentation, but largely this is how different components of the social equity program are articulated in our code today. So during the breakout room, DCR will share information. We want to get your feedback. You can provide it audibly in the breakout rooms, or you can share information with us in the chat. If you leave the breakout room and still have comments that you want to share, you can share that in the comment box, which can be found in the virtual meeting room. The virtual meeting room can be found through our Spark landing page. But in addition to the breakout rooms, we're also going to do a number of poll questions tonight. So we'll start off with poll questions, go into the breakout rooms, and I think when we bring folks back, we'll do some additional poll questions. Dr. Brown and I and other DCR staff will be in different breakout rooms to try and encourage and facilitate conversation when they bounce back and forth between different rooms. But I do again appreciate everyone's participation and look forward to the discussion tonight. So I will pass things back to Ms. Plummer to launch some of our poll questions before we start tonight's breakout sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to start with this question because I tend to like to know, who are we speaking to tonight? So which of the following best describes you? Please select all that apply. And this can be multiple choice. So are you a prospective social equity applicant, a current social equity applicant or licensee, prospective general applicant, current general applicant or licensee, other cannabis industry participant, live or should say work in the city of Los Angeles? Are you a neighborhood council member, cannabis patient, and or consumer arrested or convicted of cannabis-related activity, or declined to state? I think having this information helps us as we go into the breakout room so everybody has an understanding of the different types of audience and stakeholders that we will be seeing in those breakout rooms. So as we're forming these recommendations, we have the perspective of knowing someone might have more knowledge about the social equity program or about licensing or just about LA in general. So I'm going to give about 30 more seconds so we can have people continue to drop in their answers. Again, it should be multiple choice, and you can choose which of the following best describes you. And please select all that apply. Prospective social equity applicant, current social equity applicant or licensee, prospective general applicant, current general applicant or licensee, other cannabis industry participant. And this actually, should say live or work in the city of Los Angeles, neighborhood council member, cannabis patient and or consumer. Have you been arrested or convicted of cannabis related activity, or do you decline to state? And so we're getting a few more people in. I'm going to close it in just a second because I know from the stakeholder comment period, I know people are very anxious to get to the breakout rooms. And so I will share these results. And so it looks like most of our people who are attending tonight are current social equity applicants and licensees. And so about 62% of those attending are social equity applicants or licensees. And so for the next question, I'd like to ask, which of the following topic areas are you most knowledgeable about? So as we go into these breakout rooms, knowing kind of what everybody else knows, how people are thinking, what they're coming to and their perspective on these different topics kind of gives us a way to see how others are reacting. And so we want to say which of the following topic areas are you most knowledgeable about? And this one is select one. So you got to think about it for a second. Individual eligibility verification for the social equity program, entity level verification for the social equity program, the PCN process, pre-application process, procedure or temporary approval procedure, other local permitting requirements with like DWP, DBS, or LAFD, the state licensing process, business development, payroll, inventory management, and insurance, employee recruitment, fundraising and capital acquisition, and marketing and branding. And so again, we want to know from you, which of these topics are you currently the most knowledgeable about? And for me, it's good seeing these types of questions going into the breakout room so I know and have an understanding of what the other attendees might know and think about and how I form my reaction or my responses. And so again, which of the following are you most knowledgeable about? Individual eligibility verification, entity level verification, the PCN pre-application or temporary approval processes and procedures, other local permitting requirements, state licensing process, business development, payroll, inventory management and insurance, employee recruitment, fundraising and capital acquisition, or marketing and branding. So let's end now. And most people are knowledgeable, it looks like, on individual eligibility verification for the social equity program. And so that's actually quite interesting, knowing that most people who are also on are current social equity applicants or licensees. And so this is the fun part that I know everybody's been waiting for. We're about to break out into the breakout rooms, but to foster an inclusive environment during our breakout rooms, we are asking attendees to observe the following guidelines. DCR representatives are in the rooms to present information to spark discussion and comments. No specific licensing or application questions will be answered. Please raise your hand using the raise hand function or *9 on your phone to make a comment. Please keep comments and recommendations on topic to the prompt or the question. We'll have a lot of prompts and questions tonight, and I know we're going to have a great conversation. So please make sure we're staying on topic and trying to mind our manners and be polite with our words. And then use the chat box to respond if you don't want to speak on a prompt or just have additional information or different additional notes that you want to provide. So before we begin, I will go ahead and break us into the breakout rooms. And as you're being dropped into breakout rooms, feel free to join them right away.
For those of you still in this room, please be advised that the Spark session has broken out into breakout rooms. There will be no discussion happening in this main room, so we invite you to enter one of the breakout rooms that you've been assigned to in order to continue the discussion. Thank you. As a quick reminder to those still in the main room, the Spark session has broken into breakout rooms. To continue the discussion, please join one of the breakout rooms. There will be no discussion happening in the main room until we are rejoined. quick reminder to everybody who is still in the main room. This Spark session has moved into breakout sessions. To continue the discussion, please join one of the breakout rooms. There is no discussion happening in this main room. Thank you. as a quick reminder, this Spark session has been moved to breakout rooms. There is no discussion happening in this main room. To continue the discussion, please join one of the two breakout rooms. Thank you.
saying something to my people. I'm not sure if everybody from my room is back in here yet. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We are finishing up our breakout rooms, and I know people are slowly starting to fall back into the session. I will say what I was trying to say to room one really quickly was thinking about even what we had to say. What did you? Okay, thanks. Thinking about what we were talking about, just how would you divide and distribute those funding? Sorry, guys, that's happening. But really quickly, what I want to do is ask one quick question based on what we were talking about tonight. Which of the following topics would you be interested in getting additional information on? And I want to leave this up for a minute really quickly. Then we're going to run through some quick Spark updates, and then we will bring MBI back up to do a quick share for 2 to 3 minutes each. And then we'll close out. But I do want to know, because again, as you heard, VLC programming is currently being formed, and we want to hear from you guys. So knowing what you guys need more information about helps us. And I know we got some really great information in the breakout room. So again, right now we're asking, which topics would you like to receive more information about? Please select all that may apply. Individual eligibility verification, entity level verification, all of those application processes. I don't think invoicing is on there. Other local permitting requirements, state licensing process, business development, payroll, inventory management or insurance, employee recruitment, funding and capital acquisition, or marketing and branding. And so I'm going to give it like 10 more seconds or so, but it slowed down. So it looks like people have been submitting, and we are still getting a few more people in. So please indicate which topics you would like to receive more information on. And so let's go ahead and end this, and I'm going to share the results. And so it looks like by far, business development is the number one thing that people would like more information about. Business development, followed by what looks like application processing, and then followed behind fundraising and capital acquisition, and state licensing process. So good to know. Again, keep following the website. We will be launching GCPLC programming this summer. And I do want to give a quick reminder that DCR and Elevate Impact LA will be hosting a seed grant program lunch and learn. They'll be able to walk you through those actual documents, so you don't have to utilize another party. They will be walking everybody through the actual documents needed for the application for the seed grant program application. It's this Thursday from 12 to 1:30 p.m. You can go on Elevate Impact LA to apply for the grant program, or cannabis.lacity.org under the Seed Grant Program tab or menus selection in order to RSVP. You might have gotten an email as well if you're a verified social equity applicant, so check your emails as well. The next Spark session is our last Spark session. Sadly, we will have, it's this Saturday, June 12th. The stakeholder comment period will be from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So any thoughts or feedback you have, especially from tonight's session that you might want to give or weren't able to get in, please make sure you leave that. Come and join us this Saturday from 9 to 10 and leave those comments. And then we'll be speaking and having the session from 10 to 11:30 a.m. And again, it will be on community impact. So we look forward to seeing you there. The virtual meeting room is still open. As we mentioned, it has the past sessions and information, including information on the surveys that we currently have up. Those 2 surveys will be available through June 30th. And then the Spark comment box, which will be available through June 30th as well. Any comments you have, again, that you might not have been able to get out tonight, drop them in the comment box. There's no limit on how many comments you can leave. Drop them all. The more, the merrier, the better. And so now I'm going to bring up MBI to present some of the whiteboards and the learnings that we got from today's Spark session. Pamela, are you ready for room 1?
Yes, if Laura will be bringing the board up momentarily. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. So I'll be brief because I know that our time is limited, but here are some of the comments that were made pertaining to the various topics. So social equity program eligibility verifications. In our room, some of the things that were brought up were include extended family in tier 3, take care of pre-qualified applicants first, make cooperative licensing available as an opportunity for the new tier 3, and revisit already verified candidates to help with the process. Under licensing exclusivity, extend beyond 2025 due to current delays, expedite for social equity, provide education on the process, and staff specifically designated for that word got covered up. Thank you. Staff specifically designated for social equity program. On business licensing and compliance, guide applicants from start to finish, learn how to raise startup capital, general business management, business law learning opportunities via workshops and resources, and provide a case manager and resources to help applicants be successful, as in pro bono attorney, financial resources. And then I think we had a second page. And lastly, financial assistance. We did a basic hand raising in our room, and the majority wanted to have a fee waiver program versus a fee deferral program. Fee deferral for all convicted felons, access to startup business fundraising skills, and pour resources into grants. Grants allow more flexibility. And now I'll pass it on to Ms. Roman.
Thank you. Kristen, can you share the whiteboard? Thank you so much. So we were able to ask 3 of the prompts in our room. And so for the first question or the first topic, this is just in blue. So some of the main comments that were made, which is with the check mark, is the equity for incarcerated individuals and low income. That is where they want to provide feedback on the other eligibility criteria and who they should consider. So that was the main topic that was shared. As you can see, there was more comments that were shared, such as more stakeholder social equity applicant inclusivity and include applicants in the meetings. The individuals in breakout room 2, they all have shared that they wish to be in the table and participate in the conversations. So I would transition now to the prompt in orange. And so some of the main topics that were shared were such as, should license exclusivity, that question, should it be extended? Most of the applicants agreed, most of the stakeholders in breakout room agreed that it should not be extended. They want the focus to be on the first round of applicants before you extend it, before DCR extends it. And they should focus on the first 1,600 applicants before moving forward. That was the consensus in breakout room 2. And then we will transition to the second page, which is we combined prompts 4 and 5. So the first one was, what would you as a stakeholder recommend that the city do to decide when it comes to social equity applicants and who should be prioritized? And the room agreed that it should be low income individuals, previously incarcerated, convicted, arrested, should be the ones that are prioritized when it comes to funding. And then for the next prompt, which is the social equity applicants and who should have their fees deferred or completely waived. And the consensus was that yes, they should be waived, and reparations for incarcerated individuals should be should have their applications waived. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And so now I'll pass it over to Director Packer to give some brief closing remarks.
So again, I just want to thank everyone for joining tonight's Spark session and for their continued participation in the Spark sessions. I know that we had a very robust conversation in my breakout room. I'm very much looking forward to being able to work with NBI as these different recommendations or the analysis happens of the different recommendations that have been made to date. As mentioned, our last Spark session is going to be this Saturday, so we hope that folks who are on today's call are able to join us for this last Spark session. But I want to articulate to folks that, and I think it was raised by one of the stakeholders, this is just one process by which we are seeking to get input from stakeholders to inform our process. We recognize that there will be a closing date to the Spark initiative, and so we want to make sure that there continue to be additional forums for us to continue these conversations. We're looking forward to having conversations about what those forums could look like on an ongoing basis, in particular at the next Spark session. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing everyone soon. This will conclude this afternoon's Spark session.